Hello world, how is it going out there? Are you feeling bored at home already? Are you thinking of maybe learning some new skills? So you came to the right place, because in this video I will show you how you can create Instagram without coding anything. Sounds crazy? It is crazy, but it's possible. Check this out. We'll build this application today where you can create a profile, log in, follow other users, post photos, get notifications when they post something new, and of course edit your profile and add a profile picture. It took me only 15 minutes to build this application. But this video is a bit longer because I drink a lot of coffee, but also because I'm explaining you concepts that are important to know for such kind of applications. And if you don't mind, hit the like button so that YouTube understands that this video is interesting and it will help my channel and also pump up the video to the top of the search results so it can be found by other people that have the same questions as you have. So without further ado, let's check it out. Hey guys, today we'll build an app like Instagram. Stick around till the end because I will share with you some tips and tricks on how you can save money with Adalo towards the end of the video. But first, get your coffee and let's get started. This is the app structure that we will create today. Let me show you all the screens that we'll build, and then we'll start from the scratch by building a completely new application and creating those screens step by step. So you have the sign up and login screens, which are created by Adalo automatically, which is really awesome, which means that Adalo has a full support for users, which comes in very, very handy. And then you see all the other screens here on this side that we have created ourselves. For example, the home screen where you can see your feed and see your own posts, but also posts from people that you're following. A screen for exploring new user content and following new users. Then a screen for looking at the user's profile and to see what other stuff they have posted and to follow and unfollow them. A screen to see your own profile and to edit it. And last but not least, maybe most important, a screen to post a new photo. Okay, let's go ahead and create a new application from the scratch so you see how that works out. We create a new app, native mobile app, because that's what we want to create, and a blank one, no presets. Give it a name, let's call it Instagram. Okay, Adalo is hard at work creating this application, and the first thing we get is a sign up and a login screen, and even a bonus, a home screen. So let me show you what that means. So a sign up screen, if you click on this one here, you see it is classified as a welcome screen. And the welcome screen is something special. It is the first screen that user can see without being logged in. So that's important because that's where they land. You can choose another screen to be that home screen, but this one makes sense for us. The login screen, on the other hand, is classified as a normal screen, which doesn't mean anything special other than, well, it's there and you can get to it only when you link to it. And there is another screen, which is the home screen, which has this home icon on top and is classified as a home screen, which means that this is the first screen the user can see after logging in. Okay, having said that, this is actually pretty important to know because when you create your own screens, you might want to land on a different one and you can just go ahead and pick your own home screen if you like. So the first thing we want to really do here to create is the data structure. And the reason for that is Adalo is pretty smart later on when we have the data structure to pre-populate a lot of things in our forms and in the drop-downs and so on. So in order to take advantage of that, we will go ahead and create the data structure for users and for posts because that's what we want to create today. And let's dive right in. Okay, so the database that Adalo keeps is here in this menu, and it is hosting collections. Collections are basically tables with data inside. So let's see. Users is already there. It comes by default, and a user has an email address, a password, that's pretty handy, a username, which is also cool for us, and a full name. Great. We're gonna add here a profile picture because we want that picture to appear later on in the user profile. Okay, I'm closing this and I'm creating a new collection for posts. So posts are the ones that we want to see in the stream. They have obviously an image, some kind of text description, and they belong to a user. So let's create that. All right, Adalo automatically creates this name field here, which we don't need really, so I will just keep it around but not make use of it. I will now create the photo field, which is an image, and we create the description field, which is a text. The description field is there for the user to put some kind of text next to the image. And we now have to create something more special, which is the relation to the user who posted that. So we have to know which user did that so that we later on can filter things out that belong to us or to some other people. So here Adalo has a feature, it's called relationships. And we want to relate this post to another user. And Adalo says, cool, but how are those two related? So let's go through the options and see what we have to choose here. So imagine here, a user can have multiple posts. Sounds true. A post belongs to one user. Also true. And this is actually the option we need. But let's go through the other ones to understand the difference. A user can only have one post. No, that's wrong. Next one. A post can have multiple users. No, that's also wrong. First one it is. It is important to choose the right option because Adalo then understands how your data is related and it will then give you very good suggestions in the drop-downs to help you out. Alright. User, it's a good name, let's stick to that. Okay, we forgot two things that are actually pretty important. We have to store somewhere if you're following a user and if somebody's following you. So those two fields will be created in the user's collection. And this is also a relation. So a user is related to another user in some kind of way, well, in the way of following or being followed. So what we're doing now is we're creating another relation here. Adalo immediately wants to know how those two are related with each other. So let's see. Let's say one of those words is called follower. So a follower can have multiple other users that it's following. Yeah, that's true. And belongs to one follower. No, that's not really true, so it's not the right one. A follower can only have one user. Well, that's also wrong. So a follower can have multiple users, that is true, and a user can have multiple followers. That is also true. So, well, it's a many-to-many relation, kind of expected, because, of course, you can follow many users, and many users can follow other users and you. So it's a many-to-many relation. This is what we choose here. And we go ahead and change the name here of the field to followers. So those are the people that follow you. And we create exactly the same thing again for following. Those are the users I'm following. Okay, cool. Now we have the full data set up and we can go ahead and create the visuals. But first, how can humanity live without coffee? On the home screen, we want to show a list of posts. They will have a photo and they will have a text. So let's see what Adalo has to offer. Adalo offers multiple components that can display lists. And you can see there is a list that looks more like contacts, phone contacts, another one for images, card lists, horizontal list even. By the way, this is new. And a custom list where you can go pretty nuts and create your custom implementation of it. But let's take the card list today. We place it here. Actually, let's put it on top. We place it here on the home screen and we change it to show only one column. And we tell it, because we already created the collection, we tell it what to display, and we want it to display posts. Okay, that's pretty cool. But we don't want it to display all the posts. We want to display only posts from the users I'm following. Wow, that was easy, right? Of course, we don't follow anyone yet, but you will see the benefit very soon. Let's also make sure that the newest posts are on top. Newest to oldest. By default, the list does not update itself when a new post is coming in. For that, you will need to switch tabs. That's not so cool, so we want to enable the auto refresh feature. Just make sure if you have multiple lists on the page to only enable this for one of them. Otherwise, Adalo says there might be a performance problem. Next thing we want to do is to tell the list what to display exactly. The media is already chosen correctly automatically by Adalo, which is what I mentioned before. Once it knows what data it is, it can do a lot of magic for you. So it is the current post photo. Perfect. We will change the title to contain the post description. We will turn off the subtitle and we will put the username here in the body, and I want to use @username. It's basically like Twitter or something. So @the user who posted this thing, username. And by the way, even if you have a turn off title feature here, it doesn't work. You cannot turn off the title. Okay, the next thing we want to do is we want to add a menu on the bottom so you can switch between screens. Again, Adalo has something for that. It's in navigation and it's called tab bar. Just drag and drop it in here and we have a tab bar. Now we go ahead and configure it. The first tab is home. That's fine. We will keep that. The second tab is called search. We will rename it to explore. The idea is to explore other people's content and to follow them. And the third tab should be the profile tab. And there is already one. In this case, it's the fourth one. So what we do is we simply turn off this one and turn off the last one, and we are perfectly set up. Although I do want to change the title of this tab, and I want to make it say who I am, who is the logged in user's username, which is perfectly possible with this magic text here. And it wouldn't say just profile, instead it would say my username, which also shows me that I'm logged in with that user, which is pretty handy. The next thing we want to add to the app is the button that allows you to post a new photo. That should be a floating button, so let's see what Adalo has to offer. We scroll down to the buttons list and we find something called an action button. We drag it in and it's already the right color. We make sure it's centered and we style it by choosing a photo icon. We can't link it to anything yet because we don't have another screen, but we'll do it now. So the next screen we create will be the screen to post a new photo. So we go over to screens and we say add a screen. And we want to add a form screen. I mean, we could build this ourselves, but Adalo will do some magic and it's a bit easier. So click on that and give it the name of post photo. There it is. You can see that I have created this application a few times. Okay, post photo. We click on this form and then we tell Adalo again what kind of stuff should be created when this form is submitted. Well, a post, and boom, immediately it will populate the fields that we need. Although we don't need the name field, so we can go here and just delete it. And also I want the description field to be a multi-line field. And maybe I want to change the submit button to say just post. And that's it. This is how easy it is to create a form that posts a photo. One more thing you should know, what kind of magic Adalo did, is it created here some actions on the post button, which, well, creates a new post. So it's kind of happening automatically, but also it sends us back to the previous screen where we came from, which is great. Shall we test it? Of course, but first. All right, remember that we don't have a user yet, so we will first need to create a user and then we can post a photo. Sign up, this is the first screen. If you remember, this is a welcome screen. So there you go. And I forgot something. So we don't really want the user to put the full name here. Instead, we want them to put a username because that's what we care about in the whole app. So we just go over here, click on this form, and we change the fields. We remove the full name and we add the username. And it's fine. It's required also, perfect. So let's do this thing again. Oh, I'm lucky, pre-populated. So I will choose here user1 as my nickname, just so that it's easier to recognize who is logged in. Sign up. All right, cool. So of course there is nothing to see. So let's post a photo. Oh, I didn't link this button. Let's go here and do that. Add an action and link it to post photo screen. And you can see that there is an arrow now going from this screen to that one, so that we can go from one to the other. Let's try this again. This time I'm already logged in. All right, choose a photo. Of course, on your phone you can shoot that photo with your camera. And you don't see anything, which is on purpose, because remember, you see only stuff that has been posted by some other users, but you're not following anyone yet. Let's change this list to display all posts and not just the posts of the users I'm following for a few minutes to test this out. Click on the list and select all posts. So filter all posts. So let's see now. There you go. You have the photo, you have the text, we're good. Next up, let's create the explore screen where we can find content from other users and then create the user profile screen where we can click the buttons to follow them. Okay, so for that, I create a new screen. Add screen. I will take a blank screen and create the screen. And I want to arrange the screen to be above this one because it seems logical to me. So now let's add the elements that we need. First, we need the bar on top. It's called the app bar. But hey, let's copy it from here. Copy, Command C, and then click on the screen here, Command V. And just change the title. Say, let's call it Explore. And also we have to give the whole screen the same name because later on we will have to choose it from drop-downs and it's just easier to find that way. And let's say that we do not want users to log out from that screen, so we turn this icon off completely. Next, we want to add some text on top of the screen to tell the user what is the purpose of that screen that we're building, which is to show content of other users and to allow exploration. So we drag it in here, we zoom in a bit here. By the way, I'm clicking Control and then scrolling with my mouse. This zooms in and out. And I want this text to be centered. And I want it to say, explore new content and follow users. Okay, something like that. And what we want to do is we want to also show a list of posts. But in this case, so I'm copying this one, Command C, Command V. But in this case, it should be not showing all the posts, but instead only posts that do not belong to yourself, because you don't want to explore your own stuff, because that is easy, right? You can do that anyway later on in your profile, but you want to just see posts from other users. So we drag this in and then we make sure that we filter. So instead of saying all posts, we're saying all posts, but we want to filter that the user's email address from that post is not equal to my user address, to the logged in user's email address. So this way we will just see posts from other people. We'll test that later on. And the last thing to add here is the menu on the bottom. So we can just copy it here and click into the screen, paste it. And we now want to make sure that the second tab here is illuminated. So we go here and say illuminate this one. And we also want to make sure that the first tab is linked to go to the home screen, right? Because it's the home icon. So we just say link to home. And here on the bottom, we say the second tab should link to the Explore screen. Explore. All right, let's check it out. Preview. Okay, we see our own stuff. We go to Explore and we don't see anything. That's actually good because we shouldn't see our own stuff anyway. And here we're pretty cool. We can post a photo, we can see the Explorer. So we should maybe create a second user so that we can play around and just see how that plays together when we follow and unfollow somebody. I think it's best we go to preview and we log out and we create another user called user2. User2 will see user 1's post because we are not filtering anything, and in Explore it should also appear. Very good. We're getting there. The next screen we want to create is the user profile screen, where you can see other posts from that same user and you can see profile picture and you can follow and unfollow that specific user. You get to that screen by clicking on his posts. Okay, but this time we copy the Explore screen so we don't have to create each element from the scratch. Click on the Explore title, Command C, Command V, and there you go. Let's change the title of that screen to say user profile. And click done. All right, we will not need the title here. And we also, well, we want to show this in a 2-column view to explore new content of that user. And we just move this down a little bit to create some space on the top for the profile picture and the follow buttons. And we will also not need this menu on the bottom. Okay, next thing, we create the profile picture. Just drag in an image, place it on the top here, and well, let's style it. First of all, we want the rounding to be completely circular, and we choose 120 times 120 pixels, and with shift down and right on the keyboard, you can jump the same amount of pixels down and to the right, so it has a bit of space from the top and from the left. In order to tell Adalo which picture to show and also which post to display, we need to first create a link to that screen whenever we click on a photo from the stream, because then it will give a reference to that new screen of that post, and we can then take from that post the user and display that user's profile. So let's do that. We go to the previous two screens and we create an action, a click action. So here, add action, link to user profile. And you see there is now a new line created. And because we did that, you will see in a second, we do the same here, by the way, link to user profile. Because we did that, now Adalo knows which reference it is. So I can now go ahead here and say, well, I want to show from the current post that was clicked on the user's profile picture. So that's pretty cool, and I love this feature. And we also have to say what to show when the picture is missing, because maybe a user didn't put a profile picture yet. Well, in that case, we choose a placeholder, and I have prepared one here. Just some image that is acting like a placeholder to make it look good, even if a picture is missing. Okay, so that's cool. We can do the same with the posts. We can say, well, we want the posts to be displayed from the current clicked posts, user's posts. So this will display only all the posts from that person that I clicked on. And we don't really need this filter anymore here because, well, we want to show all the posts from that user. That's fine. Okay, now we can move that up a bit. Okay, the next thing is to create the follow and unfollow buttons, and this is super exciting. So we create two buttons. One button will be for following and the other one for unfollowing. Follow this user. Okay, and now we duplicate this button, Command-C, Command-V, and we snap it here on the bottom of this one. The reason for that is because when the button on top is hidden, then the button on the bottom will take its place and there will be no wasted white space because Adalo will take care of that. We will make sure that this looks good in a second. So here we call it unfollow. And we make it a tiny bit bigger to show the full text. And also we go ahead and change the color to something more red. And maybe we want to change the icon to delete. So it's a remove icon. Okay. And now let's think about the logic for those buttons. So when I click on the follow button, I want to follow that user that I'm looking on right now. And by the way, I forgot to put the title here properly. Let's do that very quickly. Add username, current post's user's username. Again, this whole screen shows the user that I clicked on, right? Okay, so the follow button. Well, if I click on it, I want to add to the database let me show you which field that is, into the following, into my follower list. I want to add this user. So follow means add an action, update my profile, which is the logged in user, and add to the following list, so I'm following him, add the current post user. Okay, pretty cool. But don't forget, he also wants to know who is following him, so we need to also update his profile and to add me to his follower list. So let's do that as well, also when the follow button is clicked. So update not me this time, but him, and add myself to his followers list. All right, and I'll show you in a minute how that looks like in the database. Now let's do the exact opposite on the unfollow button. Add action, update myself, and remove, this time remove him. from my following list. And now let's also remove me from his list. So we update him. And now I'm not anymore his follower. Okay, that's cool. Before we test this out, I want to change this list again to show only posts from people that we are really following, so that you can see that this has any effect. So here, instead of all posts, we choose again only posts from people I'm following. All right, now let's test this thing out because we already built a lot of stuff. Let's see if that works out. Don't forget the coffee. Okay, first of all, it's actually good that I don't see any posts because I'm not following anyone yet. So let's explore some content. Okay, cool, I see user 1, I'm user 2 by the way, cool. I can click on his profile and I can see that I can follow and unfollow this person. Of course, we shouldn't see both buttons at the same time. We will take care of that, but let's try that. Follow. Okay, and somehow, well, oops, I don't have a button to go back. So, well, hard to prove that this worked, but let's add the button here. Left icon, menu, let's say back here. And the action is to go back. It's that easy. But let's see in the database, right? We should have created the right records. So, you see, one user is following the other and the other one has a follower. That's really cool. So if I was actually user 2, right? So if I click on this one, I can see the record and I can see that I'm following user 1. That's cool. And if I click on the other record here, then user 1 has a follower, which is user 2. Perfect. So this should work out nicely. Now let's preview the app again and see how my feed looks like. All right, cool. Now I see the posts from this user. If I click on it and I unfollow this user and I go back to my feed, then the post disappears. Yeah, okay, that's cool. Of course, there is a tiny issue when I post myself. So let's try this out and show you what I mean. Post. And I don't see anything. Of course not, because I'm not following myself. But we will actually follow ourselves, well, only in the database, so that we see our own stuff as well. And it's a nice, elegant trick to make this happen. We go to the home screen, and whenever the home screen is loaded, then we make sure to follow ourselves automatically every time the screen is loaded, just to be sure the data is there. So what we do is we click on the home screen on top here, we go to the actions, and we say, add another action, update myself, and add myself to my own following list. And that will immediately show my own stuff in my own feed, which kind of makes sense. So let's see. Preview. Okay, that is great. I can finally see my own posts. That is cool. I can also follow this user here. And now I should see 2 posts in my feed. Let's go to home and check it out. There you go. Okay, the logic is there. Now the visuals are not optimal, so let's fix that. First of all, we have to tell each button when to show up so that they are not visible at the same time. Okay, so we click on the follow button and the feature is a bit hidden. It's here, change visibility. And it's not always visible, it's only sometimes visible. Well, when is it visible? It's visible if I'm not already following that user, so let's try this out. So how does Adalo want us to do this? Well, we have to look into our own following list, and we have to say does not contain, well, my follower list does not contain this guy, which is the current post user, and then, well, show this button. Okay, sounds logical. Let's do the opposite on the unfollow button. Change visibility. Sometimes. Well, when my following does contain this user. When my following list contains that other guy, then I can unfollow him. Cool. Let's test it. Okay, user 1. Ah, nice. Unfollow. Follow. Okay, cool. Well, the buttons are not aligned super nicely here with the profile picture. We can make this happen, but as you can see, there is no jumping around. So the unfollow button is exactly on the same spot as the follow button, and the reason is that we have snapped them together, so Adalo takes care to flip them. So what we do here is we just make sure that the follow button is in the right place, and the unfollow button will just be placed in that same space when the follow button disappears. So it should look fine. But there is one tiny bug still, because we don't want to be able to unfollow ourselves, right? The whole point is we're following ourselves forever, because otherwise we won't see our posts. So let's fix that. So we have these buttons here, but we don't want to show them whenever we look at our own profile. We want to show it only when we look on any other profile. So we already know how to do this, but in order to make this super easy and not adding the same logic to both buttons, we select both of them and create a group. And then we put that show hide logic on the whole group. Makes it easier. So, well, it's only visible when the current post user email, let's say, is not equal to my email address. So, well, that should do the trick. So let's see. User 2. Oh, interesting. Yeah, it stretches the image because it wants to make use of the whole space, but you can see the buttons are gone. And instead of those buttons, we will add another button here, which is an edit my profile button, which will show up when I do watch my own profile. But that will come up when we create the next screen. And the next screen is the edit profile screen. Okay, so we create a new screen here. Add screen, and it's another form because we're editing ourselves. Okay, nice. And we are telling Adalo that it's a user that we're editing here. And what fields do we want to edit? Well, not the email, not the password, but let's edit the full name. That's it's not required, by the way, because it wasn't also required on the sign up. It's just there, so you can set it at all. And specifically the profile picture, because this is the first time you can actually set this, and it's also not required, but you can add it. And it's not a login form, so we have to tell Adalo that. So here it's not really about logging in, it's about updating the user. Okay. And yeah, it's changed all of my fields, so let's change that back. Okay, update user. The submit button will update the user, that's cool. It will also send us back to the previous screen, also cool. Before we can test it, we have to, of course, link to that screen. You can see that there is no arrow coming into it, so it means, well, we can't get there. So let's link this profile button here, profile tab, into that other one. So the action is to go to edit profile. Okay, and we do the same on the one on top. Okay, and now we have two arrows coming in, and which means we can get there. Let's try it out. Okay, click on the button. We can add our full name, and we can choose a profile picture. Let's do that. Update user. And now if I look on my own profile, which is user 2, then I can see the picture appearing. Well, okay, it's still stretched, but we'll fix that soon. Okay, that is great. And now what we can do, we can add an edit profile button here only when I'm looking at my own profile, so that we can get to that screen as well. And we just copy one of those buttons and make sure, because you're inside of a group here, right? But double clicking it gets you inside of the group, and clicking outside closes that group again. And we want to put that button outside of the group, so it shouldn't be part of this. It's not the same logic as the group. The group will be hidden whenever I look at my own profile, but this edit button will be shown whenever I look at my own profile. So it's really exactly the other way around. So let's change this button and make it, okay, maybe green again, and we can delete all of these actions. And here we maybe choose a edit icon, and we say edit profile. make it a tiny bit bigger. And again, it's snapped to the other one, to the group really, because it will just jump up whenever the other buttons are not shown, so that the app looks nice. So it's sometimes visible. Well, when is it visible? When I'm looking at my own profile. So really, it's when the current post user email address is the same as my own user email address. So yeah, pretty easy, like we did before. And also we want to add an action to link to the edit profile screen, which is like this. So now you have, the first time you have an arrow pointing here into the screen. And also let's make this button look a bit different here. We'll make an outlined button out of it. Okay, let's test it out. So we are user 2, as you can see on the bottom here. We click on this and we see edit profile. Yeah, we can click on it and we arrive on our own profile. We can edit everything and then we come back, and you can see now that the picture is not stretched anymore because there is a button next to it. So Adalo tries to fill up the whole screen so that if you have a bigger screen, the app still looks good. Maybe we should put the buttons more to the left here so that there's not so much space, but that's easy to do by just marking all of them. And I usually do that with Shift and the arrow keys on the keyboard. So just jumping in that direction. I think that is pretty good. Okay, great. We finished those screens and they work perfectly fine. Okay, the next thing to do is to link the final and third tab on our app here to our own profile. So you can see that this one doesn't have any link on it. You can check this out here. It doesn't have any link on it because we didn't build that screen yet. Now, you would maybe expect that we can link the user profile to this user profile, but it doesn't work like that in Adalo, simply because on this screen we are referring to a post that has been clicked on from one of those streams. And then when you click on it, Adalo gives this other screen the current post. So let's see here. You see, it passes on to that user profile screen the current post. The thing is that when we click on user profile here in the tab menu, there is no post to give to that screen, so that screen will be very confused and doesn't know what to display. So what we have to do is we have to create another screen just for that use case to display our very own profile. So in order to do that, we copy this one, Command C, Command V, maybe put it somewhere here, and we just delete everything we don't need from that screen. And of course we do not need the follow buttons, so we can just backspace or delete them, and we just place this button back where it should be, like that. And instead of displaying any data here based on the current post, we want to display it based on the logged in user. So I will have to delete this and set it to current logged in user's username and current logged in user's picture, and so on and so on. Also, the list has to take the posts from the current logged in user, and so on. I think that's it. Basically, the link to edit profile is still okay because, well, that screen is just for us. We can only edit our own profile. That's fine. So that should work out fine. And now we can go ahead and link it from the tab bar. Add an action and link to user profile 2. Well, because I gave it the worst name ever, let's rename that to be called my profile. Click done. That's important, really. I mean, name your screens and then it's much easier in the drop downs. Here it's missing then link to my profile. Okay. And of course, let's test it. Okay, my profile, coming here, and for some reason, yeah, of course, the button has a visibility constraint, and we can just remove it and say always visible, because when I'm looking at my own profile, of course, I want that button to appear. So let's check it out again. Okay, that's nice. Edit profile, coming here. Change my name just to prove that it works. That's cool. And let's post another picture here in the name of user 2, and then we log in again with user 1 and we see how that looks like. Okay, as you can see, my feed shows my own posts, but also the posts from the user I'm following. You can see that when I click on another user's post, I arrive on their profile and I can unfollow them. And when I click on my own posts, then I arrive on my own profile and I can edit my profile, and it's a bit different than the other users, and that's cool. I can explore other users' content as well. I don't see my own content there, which is absolutely desired. I can unfollow this user, and then I can go back to my feed on the home tab, and I can see that this user's post just completely disappeared, and I just see my own stuff. And I can click on my user profile as well, and I can edit it. So hey, we are almost done. The only thing missing are the notifications that are sent out to all of your followers whenever you post something new. Okay, but why does this work? Well, that's because Adalo is capable of exporting your Adalo app as a native application. So check this out. You can publish this app as an iOS app or an Android app and put it into the App Store. But also, as you can see, Adalo wants you to upgrade to a paid plan in order to make this happen. Speaking of Adalo pricing, you can see that their most expensive plan is at $200 a month, and also, more importantly, it limits you to 20 gigabytes of data storage. Now, imagine your Instagram application goes through the roof, then you can hit that very quickly. So keep in mind when you're building content-heavy applications with Adalo. There is a way around this by using Adalo's API connector. You can connect also by upgrading, of course, your plan. You can connect to a third-party API. Let's say you want to put your data on some other storage, and you can do that and then just load the data within the Adalo app from outside. Then you will not hit that limit. But that goes a bit too far for today, so make sure you like and subscribe so that you get that video when I create it. Okay, now, so let's create those notifications. Go to the post photo screen and make sure the submit button has another action on it, which triggers a notification. Ta-da! But now, how do we tell it which users should get those notifications? Now check this out. I can send it to all of my followers, and that easy, right? Because we created this relation at the very beginning of the video. You can go back and check it out, where we said that a user has followers, and those followers are created every time this green button is clicked, right? So Adalo knows exactly who those users are, so it's a list of users, and all of them will get this notification. Now the only thing left to do is to tell Adalo how to phrase this notification. So I will say, this user, which is me, has posted new content, so check it out. And also please, when user clicks on that notification, send them to the user profile. The user profile is a screen up here that we created, and Adalo will basically send a reference to which user that is, so the screen can then start rendering all of my posts, and this other person that is following me can see my content. It looks like we have created all the features that we want to create. That was cool, right? Don't forget the coffee. There is one more thing that you should know about Adalo's data layer. It offers an API connector over here, and you can use it to connect to any kind of API that exists out there. For example, for searching for images, or to connect to your own API for face detection or any kind of machine learning, or simply to fetch data out of a massive database that you do not want to copy into Adalo because it wouldn't make any sense. So keep this option in mind. It's really powerful, especially when used with backendless.com, which also allows you to create an API and a business layer. And then you can put those two together, where you have backendless as your backend with the business logic, with all your data. It can scale super nice. And then you just read this data into Adalo, which also saves you some money on the pricing plans. That's it for this video. I hope you had a lot of fun creating an app like Instagram using Adalo, and you can see the possibilities that lie in front of you by knowing such tools. If you don't mind, leave a like and subscribe to the channel, because I will be releasing new videos on the limitations of no-code tools and what is not possible with them. Until next time, keep creating and